Alright, Kiwi, this is it. We're doing it. We're beating the Pantheon of Hallownest today. Just a quick primer, I'm using Quick Slash, Unbreakable Strength, Sharp Shadow, and Mark of Pride. In theory, you could switch one of these out for Shaman Stone if you want to make your spells do more damage, but I don't seem to use them reliably enough for damage that I think it's worth it. And I've gotten so used to using Mark of Pride and Sharp Shadow in this build that I don't think I can really do this without them at this point. But those would be the two that I would recommend switching out. I think Quick Slash and Unbreakable Strength are just too good to pass up. I'd probably, if I had to choose one or the other, I'd at this point probably switch out Mark of Pride, because I feel like Sharp Shadow, I've gotten so used to how to dodge with it that I can't not dodge with it anymore, at least for now. Anyway, my strategy for dealing with these guys is when they do their charge, try and follow them with a dash, double jump, or not even double jump, but pogo, and then you can just pogo off of them in the corner. It's a bit of a, you'll have to learn the timing, but since I pogo so often, I have the timing kind of passively memorized. For this one, the best strategy I have is see if you can get it low and then just spam up slashes as much as possible. It will eventually start doing its bouncing around the world sort of thing. And this is where I just kind of turn my brain off and either go for the Abyss Streak and try to get some hits off, like slightly off center, or I just again focus on hitting it while it's to the side. Pretty free boss to heal against. This one's also pretty free. Just start smacking him as much as possible, and you'll knock him out before he can even do anything. Always remember that this guy can give you soul if you dream nail him, so make sure you use that. Normally I would zero cycle this guy by hitting him as soon as he begins his next phase, but because I went for the dream nail there, I had to back off. But he will, with this build, this is it only takes 3 rounds to beat him. So once again, I'm not going to get the zero cycle because I chose to dream nail, but what you do is you just keep wailing on him. As soon as he's able to take damage again, he jumps, you keep wailing on him, and then you sharp shadow through him and hit him one more time, and that's usually enough to completely wipe him out before he even gets a chance to attack. Even gets a chance to attack. For this one, if it doesn't jump, you just play a rhythm game with it. So if it jumps, give it a hit. If it doesn't jump, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and dead. And so this one's another easy boss. All you have to do is get it locked in a stagger. This is where Mark of Pride really helps because the range on that weapon makes it a lot easier. Hornet is one of the bosses I like to think of a smack and dodge if she moves. As you see, I forgot the second half of my strategy, so the only issue is she's very easily staggered into a corner, so it's hard to do that always. And if she does her needle attack, she suddenly becomes unstaggered, or she doesn't get knocked back at all. But she's not a very particularly difficult boss. And if you have more than 2/3 distance from her, you can almost always heal for free. For like right here, I can heal for free without any concern. So there's always plenty of room to heal if you're worried about it. Went for the soul dive there just because I was gonna get caught. Alright, and here's our first in between. Always take these chances to heal if you have them, and then just head right on in. Gorb is kind of a boss I turn my brain off against because I just want him dead as quick as possible. But you really have 2 approaches to this. Either just try and chain as many attacks underneath him going upwards as possible, but he gets knocked up pretty fast. Abyss Streak is pretty good for dealing damage to him, but he also knocks him up like super high, so it becomes much harder to hit him. The other option is pogoing, but that's a little bit riskier, especially as he gets into his later phases, because like that, you're going to get hit. And also you can just kind of knock him out of the screen. But the funny thing about Gorb, and I need to confirm this, is I don't think he hits you if you just stand still in the right location. It doesn't look like that's the case here, but in a previous run, I was healing for virtually free because he just couldn't aim right. I'm not sure what was wrong. I found the secret spot. But his attacks are pretty slow as long as you pay attention to where they come out before they launch. You can pretty reliably predict where they're going to go and avoid them. For Dung Defender, he's one of the easiest bosses in the game, unfortunately, in terms of being able to heal whenever you want. Because none of his moves can hit you, or I shouldn't say, it's not a 0% chance, but largely his move pool cannot hit you here. Unless you get a very unlucky bounce, or he just chooses to really, he comes out from underground right there. But generally speaking, he cannot reach the extra... I think I staggered him on his special... Yeah, I staggered him on the Thunder so he couldn't actually get it off. But yeah, if you stand on the wall and try to heal, I'd say about 90% of the time you're going to get that heal for free, and you can keep healing, unless he's like right on top of you and is going to hit you within like melee distance. This boss is pretty much just a... Hold on, I have an itchy nose, sorry. Alright. Oh, well, that spawned right on me. Not a good showing for this one. Again, I don't really consider this one a boss. He's so mid-boss, like, slightly stronger enemy than the average, that I don't... Well, semantics aside, pretty much all you need to do with this guy is smack him, and then when he teleports above you, move slightly to the side, and there's really nothing he can do. If you're really spooked, you can always dash through him. But this boss is relatively free in my book. There are opportunities to heal through him, but I usually choose not to use them. If you are going to heal, you should heal right after he dashes, or after he drops from the sky. For this one, basically, I alternate Sharp Shadow with just moving to the side, but you can get 2 swings and then you need to move away usually. So 1, 2, dash through him if he spits like that. 1, 2, back off. 1, 2, back off. 1. Just focus on dodging when he jumps. 1, 2, back off, but killed him. But that's really all there is. So it's either 1, 2, and then dash, or 1, 2, and then back off. And he can't touch you, aside from, obviously, he'll be shooting randomly from above. But the less you have to move for that boss, the less you're at risk of accidentally running into things. Oro's another boss that's pretty simple. If he jumps away like that, you just need to make sure you're high and dash through him. And if you get the timing right, you can learn to relatively predict when his slash is coming on the ground. But, like, that doesn't help if I kill him too fast. Alright. When both brothers are on the field, really you only have to worry about one at a time. One will try to parry while the other is backing, so be mindful of that. But these jump attacks are really where they give you the freest damage opportunity because they're locked in an animation. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze 1 second. Alright, nose is clear. Here we go. So, effectively, alright, so I see him charging. So this guy does his spin and always ends up in the air. So what you want to do is you want to back off horizontally rather than doing what I just did, where I go vertically, because you will get hit. It's not like Sly's spinning nail art. So see, he's going to end up in the air. So and then he'll always attack facing the direction he was going in. So you can pretty reliably get behind him and start wailing on him. Now that there's only one, I can focus a little bit more. So this guy only... Oh, never mind. And this is also a chance to heal for free. You can get 2 heals if you're pretty early, and you can get 1 if you're not. For some reason, his horizontal slashes come out a little bit slower than I would like. This is also a good boss because they don't stagger for getting this move off and mashing the button to deal damage. Always remember to bow to your masters, as they are wonderful people, and you should respect them. Specifically your nail masters. If you have any other masters and you don't want them... Never mind. This is... I don't know where I'm going with this. Either way, so that's how I deal with this. This is probably the boss my brain works the least well against. Case in point, I just walked off the edge without a reason. Because these don't just go back and forth, they kind of slide towards him. There is a way to heal for free against him, and it's if you let him get to the extremes of where he's going, he cannot hit you at max range. See? But it's a little risky if you don't... You have to kind of keep his sliding back and forth rhythm in your head. Honestly, for this boss, the best way to deal with him is just to deal 1 hit at a time and then alternate sides, I find. Because my brain is so monkey on this boss that I just am very prone to getting hit. And when he gets to his second phase, it really doesn't matter that he has the extra shorts because he doesn't actually use them. Obviously, Abyss Streak is a great option too. But as long as you know when and where to heal, and don't get greedy for those heals, he's not, strictly speaking, a hard boss. He's just a boss that I have a hard time with because he counterplays my preferred playstyle. The other thing about him is if you get a good rhythm and stick with the direction he's traveling, you can usually get a good rhythm going, or a good flow going, and keep attacking him. The other thing that I'm realizing just now is if he fires off while you're in the air, that blade that comes at you is completely useless, because you're not going to be in the air for very long. And so you can kind of invalidate his attack pattern. This one's really easy. You just keep attacking, and when it does anything, when it points its lasers at you, you dash through him, and then keep attacking. And yeah, there's not much to this boss, or its Dreamnail version, honestly. Or I guess it's not the Dreamnail, but the enhanced version of this boss that you fight later on. Soulmaster, I don't know if I have any like particularly good advice against. It's really just a matter of smacking him until he's dead. If he starts shooting... Oops, I meant to jump, not use soul there. When he shoots these orbs, just make sure you're not vertically beneath him, because it is a bit harder to dodge them. And when he's teleporting around firing them, if you get in melee distance, he can't hit you. So usually when he uses that move, my goal is to get as close to him as possible. I go for the Abyss Shriek on this because there really isn't a lot of damage I can deal. This move is basically a free healing chance. And of course, while he's having his Clown Fiesta of a death animation, you can heal for free as well. As far as evading his after-death move, it's much more important that you do this on the Soul Tyrant, which is his Dreamnail fight. You jump and then you dash. But here, it's pretty much free, and then you just focus on DPSing him. If you want to go for the cheeky pogo, you can. One thing, I'm going to actually let him go back, because there's one other thing that I found that I think is pretty funny. You can get him with this. Yeah, I knew he had, like... I knew he was a hair's breadth from death. I don't know what the phrase is. I'm bad at idioms. Either way. But yeah, you can dash away before he descends if you use your Abyss Shriek early and still get all 3 hits. Oblobbles are, strictly speaking, not difficult, but I do have a mental issue with them because I cannot dodge their projectiles reasonably well. But what you want to do here is just try and get as much damage on both of them before you kill one. That's going to go right for me. Before you go for one, and you can heal for free relatively easily against them. You'll get punished sometimes, but okay, well, I've made this boss immeasurably harder because this boss is not even close to death if I crawl. So I'm just going to focus on DPSing here, because the further away you are from them, the better chance you have of getting a good heal off. Also, and since they're on kind of a pattern of just bouncing around the walls, it's pretty easy to accomplish. I personally think I will favor using Abyss Shriek just to speed the boss along, because I'm taking a lot of damage here. Again. Oof. Ugh. Not good. Alright, yeah. Let's just end this boss. So, yeah. Generally speaking, what I like to do is let them get close to each other and then Abyss Shriek them both. Alright. If you, for some reason, take an obscene amount of damage on Oblobbles, this is your chance to heal, because this boss is pretty easy to heal against. Just wait for it to do a pattern like this, and then you can heal one. Never heal more than one, because you will get punished for it. And you want the projectile to start on the ground and then go up, rather than the other way around. You can also heal after the ground, after the air to ground attack that they do this. You can heal like that, and you can heal after that if you heal after jumping. But this one's timing is a little bit tighter, as you can see, so I don't really recommend that one. That said, when you're up to the actual 3-on-1 fight, which is about to begin, then you need to focus on dodging and don't even bother trying to heal, because you'll never get a heal off in almost any circumstance. Just try and get singular hits in where you can, and then focus on dodging. One hit, and then dodge. The only time where that's not the case is if they do their aerial. It's all of them end up using aerial attacks one after the other. It's pretty funny. The stagger you get from that is almost enough to back you off, so you can take like one step and then go back, and then smack. But what you need to do here is genuinely focus on not getting hit. Genuinely focus on getting at least one down before you end up fighting, trying to heal. Which makes this battle a little bit riskier of the bunch, because you can very easily be punished for that. Also, don't forget to count your dash. If your shadow dash is off, don't accidentally expect it to be up when you're trying to evade them. Or shade cloak, that's what I mean by shadow dash there. Don't forget that you can pogo on those projectiles if you feel that the timing is off and you're at risk of getting hit. I am taking a fair bit of damage here, but we keep in mind you do have a hot spring coming up after this fight. Alright, so that's one down. Now you have a better chance of healing. The best chance is probably while at least one is on the wall firing projectiles, and the other one has finished its animation of attack. But it's a little too risky, so I still tend to wait until I have beaten them and I have only one left, and then I showed you how to heal against one earlier. Again, I'm probably not going to heal at all, just so that I can get the fight done. Also, now that there's only two, you can get like 2 or 3 hits in between the attacks, especially on the one that attacks second. Because the one that attacks first will be kind of still repositioning. But there you go. That's the Mantis Lords. Now, I know there's a hot spring after this. I know for a fact there's a hot spring after this, but I never trust myself on that. So if you're not sure if there's a hot spring or not, rather than be cocky and get punished for it, go and heal up before during the transition to the next boss. There's no harm in doing that, and honestly, it's to your benefit. Marmu, the simple strategy is you want to bounce it. You're basically just playing a timing game. The one thing you have to be careful of is if he bounces off the top wall, like the last 2 times I've been hit, he will rebound a little bit faster, and it throws off the timing. So just expect that, which I have failed to expect. Okay, I have taken far more damage on Marmu than I expected. Marmu, you are fast. Okay, Marmu's popping off, guys. He's like only a few hits away, so okay. So Marmu can be challenging. It's a tougher rhythm game is what I would call it compared to the Moss Charger. Fluke Marm, my favorite strategy for Fluke Marm is this. Just get into pogo position on him, and then just be ready to deal with his little, whatever these spawnlings are called. And if you're finding you're having trouble with that, then I just suggest staying low, and then hitting him when you can, and then deal with these chargers. They get stuck on platforms, so there's not much they can do against you, and that's why staying low is advantageous, because it gives you more time to react to them, because they'll kind of bounce falling down the platforms. Broken Vessel is another boss that I find particularly easy. Basically, what you have to do is if you see him move his head, you dash. Otherwise, if you stay within melee range, he's pretty much a free kill. So when he does this, I just stay nearby and attack him, and I feel as though I have enough time to evade. And honestly, even if I get hit once, I have just generated so much soul that I can very easily heal it back at the end of the fight. But really, all I do is I smack him, and then if he moves his head, I dash through him. And then he usually ends up charging away in the direction that he was facing. For this boss, my strategy is kill him as soon as possible because I'm prone to taking so much damage against him. The most important thing is to recognize that his scythe does not follow it homes on you a little bit, and so it doesn't just bounce in a predictable direction. I got a really good pattern here because he was staying low, so I could just follow him along and up slash him. But generally speaking, what I aim to do is I aim to what's it called? Abyss Streak him. So the most important thing for this boss is pay attention to the color of his brush as well as his position. So blue, all of his attacks are telegraphed by the color of his paintbrush, but most importantly, the purple strike, you can see him charge, and he'll do that. And the orange strike, he'll do a piercing horizontal slash. Blue, you can just back away in space, and then you can pretty freely dash through him when you see him charging, and then that attack only hits in front of him. That was a mistake. It was orange, so I wanted to go forward, go through him rather than backwards. I'm going to back off because I didn't think I had enough time to dash through him. But he's all you need to do is if you're just pretty aggressive with your sword slashes, you also have you have a hot spring after this, so you have a lot of opportunities to heal. So I saw the orange brush, so I jumped. For this, I can go horizontal. I don't have my dash up, so I'm going to get hit by that, unfortunately. At this point, I'm just focusing on killing him, because he only had so much HP left. And once again, I do have a hot spring next, I believe, but I'm going to heal just to play it safe. Yep, there we go. I do think it's very valuable to know when and where your hot springs are coming, so you can choose if you have to prioritize dealing damage or healing. You know, in some instances, it's probably better to damage rather than heal. For this one, this is another boss that falls into the category of smack him, and then when he moves, you dash through him. That one instance was not a good example of it because I was unfortunately I didn't have my dash up. but most of his patterns, with enough time, give a good timing that you can just pass through. I am taking far more damage on this boss than I would like. Killing him despawns his bees coming from the sky, so I can just heal for free here. This boss, I had a theory about a possible strategy that I want to test out. Doesn't seem super viable. The pogo doesn't, he just teleports away, but I thought it would be pretty funny. Did you know you can pogo off of these? I discovered that, but I think my preferred way of dealing with him is to just kind of like bounce alongside him, along his travel, and then whenever he teleports away from this, just dash to the side and get your free heal unpunished. You can very easily get 2, and don't forget you can use, if you're worried about getting hit by these, just use your shadow dash. Try and avoid using your shadow dash, because if you use as a second one, you won't be able to avoid that in time, but the shadow dash can make that, can trivialize that boss in a lot of capacity. Collector is pretty simple. Just look at the ceiling to see where he's going to fall down or where his jars are going to fall down, and then just focus on smacking him. I always prioritize his little minions that he spawns first. And the number of minions he spawns kind of tells you where you are in the fight. So now he's at his second phase, I'll call it. And he'll start spawning 3. So the way I think of it is quarters of health. He is 1/4 of health when he's spawning 1, 2, he's half dead after starting to spawn 2, and he's 3/4 when he starts to spawn 3. My best recommendations otherwise is just stay close to him and smack him, because if you're chasing after him, if he ever turns, normally he kind of hops forward in a singular path. If he ever starts traveling towards you instead, he's going to do his little hopping clap attack that he does to try and like smack you. But if you keep moving in the direction you were moving when you were smacking him, it won't hit you. As far as God Tamer goes, this one's pretty simple. My best strategy for dealing with it is actually ignore the sword bug and just pogo on her mount, if you will. And he'll always bounce off the wall towards you, or towards where you were last. So just make sure you move horizontally away. But aside from when he raises his head to do that, he's a pretty free pogo. You can also get some cheeky soul dives in here that will damage both of them, because they do like to stay close to each other. Funny that. But here, unfortunately, I got clipped because I was in a bad position. It's going to bounce all the way back here, so I'm just going to go high and start pogoing again. If you don't like if you're not good at pogoing, then what I would probably suggest is, well, I am taking a lot of damage just focusing on talking about this boss, but you can also damage the God Tamer, or the Rider. She doesn't really attack outside of her jump attack, but as soon as her minion is done, unless she's in a jump slash, she gives up. So use as much of that time as possible to heal. You can heal for like 5 or 6 if you time it right. Alright, regular Grim. Generally what I do is if I have soul, I hit him here, and then I use Abyss Streak to damage a whole bunch of his puffer. But I don't really need to do that here. I am taking more damage than I like. Alright, this is an opportunity to heal if you feel greedy. Just position correctly. For his bats, they all go low, so just jump. When he does that, when he teleports above you and then tries to dash at you, you can hit him before he dashes if you want. I often use Sharp Shadow for damage here. If you're lucky enough to be within range, you get a lot of free hits for when he does that. His pufferfish represents when he's getting lower on HP. I think he uses it once per quarter health or once per third health, but I think it's quarter. So you can use it as a gauge for how close you are to beating him. The bats are basically your best opportunity to hit him, and be careful because he does use a flame above his head when he uses them, so you cannot vertically attack him. You can't attack him from above without being punished. Be careful when he like teleports, and it's hard to describe the stance that he takes, but if you're too close to him when he teleports and is going to do his dash attack, he'll back off and punish you for dashing into him. So I can heal here, so I'm going to go for it. Bats, again, go low, so just jump and then dash, jump, dash. And pufferfish, now again, when his pufferfish starts, you have the option of Abyss Streaking it, and if you don't mind taking the hit, you can probably get 2 or 3 off before he actually hits you. And it speeds the boss fight up immeasurably, so it's very good, especially if you're running Shaman Stone. But that's really all there is to Grim. Base Grim really doesn't scare me anymore. When he ghosts like this, you have 2 options. Either try and hit his little spirit, or you can Or you can choose to heal. And if you choose to heal, you can get 3 heals off if you do it right at the start. But there is another hot spring after this fight, so also keep that in mind. It does offer you a fair bit of leeway with the damage that you take in that fight. We're getting to the point where the bosses are getting a little bit more challenging for commentary, but I think what I'll do is I'll probably not do any commentary for the last 3 bosses so I can focus on them, and then I'll just edit in commentary in post, but at least you get to see my live commentary for everything else. I really, really want this to be my last attempt at this Pantheon for some time. Alright, so the Watcher Knights. Honestly, a pretty easy boss once you have Shade Cloak. If you see him charge up a swing, pull behind him. The other most important thing to know about this boss is once they're standing, you can Dream Nail them to regenerate soul. You cannot hit them when they're in their shell rolling like this, outside of soul attacks and your Sharp Shadow. So keep that in mind. The reason why I didn't dash through him there was because the other one was right behind him, so like they're not good positions for me, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use some soul aggressively to speed this along, I think. Alright. Basically, you can get about 2 attacks in melee range before they swing at you, and this is again assuming you're using Quick Slash. I got faked out there. Alright. You can also heal relatively for free while they're in some of their animations, so keep that in mind if you're feeling a little sketchy. But really all it boils down to is smack them, and then when they wind up, dash through them. And so here, because I've taken some damage, I'm going to choose to use a Dream Nail. Well, I didn't time it well, so nothing I can do. I'm taking far more damage than I would like, but I've kind of showed... you've seen enough of these attempts at this point that you know I've figured out the strategy for dealing with these guys. And honestly, if they're off screen, they won't come charging at you. They won't charge at you until they're on screen, so you can abuse that fact. So he's off screen, I should be safe to heal. I don't know if that's a guaranteed fact, but it feels pretty darn consistent. And now that there's only one, I can truly showcase that it's really just you smack them, and then when they wind up, you dash through them and keep smacking them. And that's really all you have to do to deal with the Watcher Knights. They are... I consider them a boss where you can get your heals back, even when there are multiples. Alright, so Umu, on the other hand, is a boss that I tend to struggle with because I'm very bad at kiting its jellyfish into it to get it to hit. Basically what you want to do for the most part is just focus on mobility until it does its big shriek, which usually happens after 2 attacks. So it chooses to use the electricity that chases you. The other option is it summons Luma Flies in a set position, and you just have to focus on not being around them. The way I think I've found to best deal with getting the jellies to hit Umu in a way that I want on my terms is, in an instance like this, I use a Abyss Shriek and... Nope, never mind, that's a bad idea. So you have 2 options here. If it spawns and it's like right next to him, you can probably just take the singular hit and then get away with it. The other thing you can do is, what I like to do is get it on the same horizontal plane as Umu, and then Shade Cloak through Umu. And that will make it chase you, but you'll be invulnerable dashing through Umu, so... Or you can abuse iframes. I'm clearly not doing this great. Again, this is a boss that I do actually genuinely struggle against compared to the others. But keep in mind, when it's roaring, that's an opportunity to heal. And if it does these stationary Luma Flies, it's also a chance to heal. When it's chasing you, then you have to be a little bit more proactive in dodging. There we go, and this should finish the boss. One thing to note that's really important is be careful about hitting Umu with an exploding jellyfish when there's another exploding jellyfish right next to Umu, because that can kill the other jellyfish and you might not notice it, and then that jellyfish is going to come charging at you. Now we have the quote-unquote harder version of Nosk. I almost find this one a little bit easier to deal with than base Nosk because there are a lot of opportunities for free healing, and you can kind of cheese it in a similar manner to the first boss. If you down attack, dash, and then down attack again, you can usually get 2 hits instead of the one that you'd think he allows you. The difference being he can go off screen, which means he will punish you. Whoop. He will punish you for trying to just limitlessly pogo him. His hitbox is also deceptively large, it goes more above him than you would think it should. I, for some reason, let that ghost psych me out. But yeah, basically, what you want to do is time your heals after he dashes, and you can usually get them off for free, particularly if you focus on not attacking. So, for example, he's going to dash here. I can now just heal for free pretty easily. And these ghosts do help you generate soul. Him spitting out those orbs, I don't really have a good recommendation about. It's really just react to them as you see them coming. Same thing with the upper attack. But beyond that, it's really just heal for free and damage him where possible. I don't recommend soul diving on the or shade cloaking on the ground, but you can probably shade when he brings the when he shoots his projectiles across the floor like he's about to do. Probably nope, on the he's gonna go from the ceiling. You can shade cloak, but make sure you shade cloak in the air, because then you have your double jump to reposition rather than land on it. I think that's probably the best way to deal with that. But see, because if you shade cloak on the ground, you're at risk of dashing into a puddle that he drops. Whereas if you shade cloak in the air, you can then double jump to both evade a dash if he does that, and evade the puddles on the ground themselves. Unfortunately, this is a boss that takes a bit to kill in terms of time. But again, I don't strictly consider him difficult so much as just time-consuming and annoying. In all forms, Noska's annoying. That's for sure. And don't forget to dispose of the fake Hornet mask so Hornet never has to see that. Sly is another boss that for a little while I struggled against, but now kind of have him down. If he does his aerial attack, you can sneak in one hit, but then back off because he'll do an upward swing. And then if he does his ground slashes, he does 1, 2, and then a spinning move upwards. Get 1 to 2 hits in, and then back off. I think 1 is more appropriate. When he starts charging, you need to have your vulnerability dash up, or you're going to take like 2 hit. You're going to take 2 damage. That nail art that he does 2 damage. But that's really all there is to the Sly before his second phase. For me, the thing I have the most trouble with is honestly remembering that he's gonna do slash and then spin on the ground. Up. So it seems that if you're within his attack range when he starts charging his nail art, if you just dash away, you're safe. I do think he can hit you from behind. Otherwise, you just want to be very high up when he goes for that attack. Oop, see, I wasn't high enough, so in general, I say always dash if you can to avoid that move. And then when he spins, he'll always end up somewhere in the air, so you can use that as an opportunity to heal, but I've never done that, and I think it's a little too risky when you're trying to evade it. You know he's going to do his charge nail slash that does the 2 hits if he jumps away from you and pauses. And then as far as how this goes, he's going to bounce, and when he gets close to you, you dash away, and then you move back in and hit him. So he's close, so I know he's close, so I back off, hit him. Close, so back off and hit him. Basically, you just need to dash every time he ends up near you. If you dash a little too early, you will get punished for it, and I found that that's probably the most consistent way he punishes me. But if he's low enough to the ground, you can get a sharp shadow off on him and deal extra damage. But that's Sly. Alright. Good fight, my bro. Thank you for all the things you've sold me. Enjoy your G-Go. And then you'd think Sly would be the last boss before a Hot Spring, but for some reason Hornet is. But this fight isn't terribly different from her first counterpart. Just get damage in where you can. If you see her move, you dash. If she's against a wall, you can't really dash through her. And then this, I choose to get rid of these as quick as possible because I'm very prone to walking into them. But you know what? Since I have a Hot Spring up, I'm going to actually choose to be very aggressive with my soul and miss every hit, but it's fine. I'm just going to use a bunch of soul dive and get a ton of damage off on her without much punishment. I actually feel like I'm wasting my soul and not doing much damage at all. Her parry's a little bit annoying, but it's not that big of a deal to deal with. It if you hear, it's a sound key more than anything. It's the sound of your nail hitting metal or nail hitting her nail. If you hear that, dash. If she's in a corner, jump. But just make sure you're not. She hits in an arc, and she does hit behind her with that move, so be wary of it in that regard. But with that Hornet done, we are on to, I believe, Pantheon 4's contenders. Alright, so Enraged Guardian is just like his weaker form, just keep smacking him. The time it takes for him to charge up another blast is not enough, is more than enough for your Shade Cloak to regenerate, so you just dash through him and switch the target, direction you're targeting. Lostkin, like its weaker predecessor, again, is kind of just a, if he moves his head, dash. If he doesn't, just keep wailing on him. So, the jumps seem to mess with my brain for some reason, but the ghosts really aren't that much of a threat. Just gonna, still not moving his head. Now he moved his head, so I dashed, but he was in the air, so it wasn't actually that bad. Somehow I didn't expect him to jump all the way over there, and I got distracted by the ghost. But, alright, so my strategy isn't maybe the cleanest, but this is very much a you DPS him before he DPSs you sort of thing. And don't forget, the ghosts travel pretty slow, so try not to let them scare you out of healing, unless they're like right on top of you. And he takes a while to die, so this is a very good opportunity to heal. You can probably get somewhere between 3 and 5 heals off if you have the soul for it. No Eyes is one of my least favorite bosses because it's more of a platforming challenge than a actual boss fight. But you take the hits where you can get them, and then just focus on not jumping into the spikes on the bottom of the platforms. If you don't think she's in a good spot to hit, then don't even bother chasing her, just focus on evading her masks or getting the heal. She's pretty free to heal against as long as you figure out the pattern of her ghost. Like right now I know I'm free, so I'm gonna go ahead and heal. The number of ghosts and the speed and the arc at which they travel increases as she gets closer to death, but other than that, there's not much to deal with her on that now. Since this is likely going to be our last attempt, I always have to say, I don't know why I've made that a running joke, but I have. This boss is super easy to deal with. If it jumps, don't do anything. If it does this, dash through it. I might switch that to Soul Dive, honestly, but basically if you see it charging up an attack while standing on the ground, use your dash. If you don't see it charging up on the ground and instead it jumps into the air, just move to the side towards the direction it's jumping from, and it will never hit you. So basically dash against the ground attacks and just walk away from the aerial attacks. And when it does the shockwave move, I think Soul Diving is the best way to deal with that, because you don't want to lose your dash for the next melee attack, and that boss becomes trivial. If you get too far away, it'll use the little fan blade projectiles, the orange projectiles like that the Mantis sisters use. But even in that instance, you'll just have to focus on dodging the projectiles before you deal with anything else. So just like his earlier form, the White Defender suffers from a huge disadvantage of being unable to touch you in the extremes, the extreme x-axis of this room, except with a very unlucky Dung Ball or him getting within melee range of doing Doma Doma, or a very unlucky Dung Ball. So it's not a 100% chance of dodging, but it's so close. It's pretty darn consistent, all things considered. As far as dealing with this pattern, you want to stay close to him, and then he'll never be able to hit you. And if you can get a cheeky hit in when he comes out, and when he goes back in, you're great. You can also use Abyss Streak more offensively here if you're full on soul and HP. But since he's going to be bouncing and I know I'm safe, I just take the heal. Always remember to dash through that with your Shade Cloak up, and then go back to wailing on him. And that's really all there is to the White Defender. Like, even on his like original fight, where you have to fight him a couple times in a row and you have to deal with him having higher damage output, he's really not that much of a threat. And then you have a hot spring right after to heal off of too. So he's a boss that I consider you might even be able to Dream Nail him. I've never tried. I'm really not aggressive with the Dream Nail at all, but he might be a boss that you can get away doing that on. And I mean, he feels like a boss that you could pretty consistently heal against. Next up, we have Soul Tyrant. So my strategies for Soul Tyrant are not that fancy. The main thing to know is that this move is a chance to heal. Once he teleports away, you can definitely get at least 1. 2 if he doesn't do his attack from above punishment, like that attack there. If he does that, you're only going to get 1 heal off, and you'll get hit for the other. You may get the second heal off, but then get hit, but there is a really fancy way of dealing with this that I just have not mastered, and I seem to be very prone to taking hits from it. I'm going to go for the 2 heals again. Okay, I'm botching this fight up a little bit, so I'm going to pause commentary for a second and just focus, because clearly my brain is not ready to comprehend this guy. Just going to focus on healing where I can. Taking far too many hits. Generally, I don't recommend chasing after him, because he just always is teleporting. I'm going to go for an Abyss Streak here. I think I got 2 of the hits off. Wasn't convinced I was going to be able to dodge that because I was clipped against the wall, but we got it. My way of dealing with that dash attack is pogo off of him and then try and hit him on the way in the horizontal direction he's traveling. Alright. I'm just going to take this boss slow because I can afford to. In theory, you can up slash him when he does this move too, but I think I want to be able to dodge in case something goes wrong. I'm going to go for the Abyss Streak here to get some extra damage in. I only get 2 of the 3 hits, so consider that if you think it's whether you decide it's worth it or not. Alright, healing here, because again, whenever he teleports with that multi-orb attack, it really is a free heal opportunity. The biggest issue with this boss is you really don't have great opportunities to hit him, so you have to focus more on dodging. I thought I could iframe through that, but I was a little too low on iframes. Alright, I'm going to go for a Abyss Streak here and get all 3 hits. Alright, take my chance to heal, but now just remember jump and dash. Jump and dash. Jump and dash. Jump and dash. Because the splash damage he does when he lands is in an arc, you have a better chance of dodging it if you are jumping and then dashing, because you'll be kind of at the... You'll be in a bad spot for it to land. And there we go. Once he gets vulnerable, then once he like stops dashing, then you just have to focus on trying to hit him while dodging the orbs. I only try to sneak 1 or 2 hits in and then focus on jumping. Now, this is a boss that I genuinely struggle against, and I think based on what I've seen on the internet, in terms of the recommended for you videos that are like cursing Markoth's name and then some, this is a boss that everyone seems to hate because he's basically a less awful version of Absolute Radiance, but still a pretty awful version of anything. My solution, I found that pogoing him for me has been my best answer to him, and then I focus on generating soul. If I start taking too much damage, I back off as long as I have the soul to heal. Unfortunately, he's right in the middle of the map. I don't really have a great place to heal here, so I stay on the wall and then I come back to heal afterwards. And I can still get 2 heals off. And then I go back to pogoing. If he's above a platform, you can get a cheeky soul dive in and do some extra damage that way. Otherwise, my best recommendation is focus on dodging, and then once he starts spinning his shield, use that as your opportunity to reposition. Once he starts bringing them back in, you get a couple hits. The best recommendation I can have for this boss, especially if you're trying him on Radiant, which I've never done and probably never will do, is depend on his shield spin for dealing damage. Just focus on dodging. Now he spins his shield, wait it out, and then go in for an attack or 2. I only got 1, but now I'm not punished and I'm still at full HP. That said, I am about to go full aggro on this guy because when would I ever be patient? But I also knew he was close to death, and I have Zote next, and for me personally, I know a lot of people have trouble with Zote. Zote, I have fought this boss so darn much that he is not a problem for me. So here we go. Smack, smack. So I like to do a pogo and then a soul dive, and then a pogo and a soul dive if I get a good start on that. Always expect him to dash a second time in the air, so have 2 dashes. Avoid those things like the plague. He will jump high, so be careful of that if you're going to use the wall to bounce away. And always take out minions. They are going to be a problem. You can heal for 2 when he staggers, but beyond that, this is just a boss that you get better at with practice. My best advice is use Soul Dive to take out his minions, Especially if he spawns 3. Soul Dive saved me in so many instances, because 1, it gives me invulnerability to frames, 2, it does damage, and 3, it hits him and does damage to him. Generally, I don't recommend dashing through him when he does his flailing nail attack, because unless you time that dash perfectly, he is going to about face and hit you immediately, because he has only had the startup. This is another boss that I consider a free healing boss, because his pattern is very consistent. Start smacking him, and then dash when he jumps. And then, just like his predecessor, you can farm up Dream, or farm up Soul on him, get a whole bunch of hits on him, and right when he's about to swing, you can dash through him. I kind of botched that up, and honestly, I think he can still hit you, so it's probably not worth the 2 damage. So just focus on dashing away, getting a chance to heal where you can, and if you get this really awkward bug, you can't Dream Nail him, so just focus on hitting him. That only seems to happen if you kill him at the very extreme of the walls. So if that's avoidable, if you can avoid that, that's ideal, because especially on the last kill, because you really want to make sure that you can restore Soul against him. But after 2 staggers, he's basically a free kill. So, and there he goes. So just make sure you farm up your Soul, because next up is where things get difficult. We've got Nightmare King Grim. Although I would say at this point for me, Nightmare King Grim feels fairly consistent. I only lose to him maybe like 10% of the time now. So it's not 100%, but I think this is where I'm going to cut off commentary and then I'll edit it in. That way I can focus on the 3 boss fights that are to come and hopefully pull off my victory. So this is Jeff of the Future taking over on commentary. The biggest strategy that I found to help me fight Grim is whenever he teleports to a new location, I start walking away from him rather than towards him until I can see what pattern he's using. So here, this is your opportunity for damage. If he stands still, walk underneath him, do a couple up airs while continuing to move forward. You can usually do 1 horizontal slash and then you have to dash through him, and it's always going to be 4 pillars of fire, so make sure to account for that. If you ever stagger him, if you start healing immediately, you have enough time to heal 3 whole times, which is a huge amount for a boss fight like this, so take advantage of that if you can. So here's another opportunity for free damage. Again, 1 to 2 up airs underneath, and then once he's cast all 4 fires, you just focus on DPSing him. Keep in mind that the fires, even if the pillars are gone, linger on the ground a little bit, so be careful not to jump on them. The other thing worth noting that I don't really show in this video, but it felt fairly consistent in practice, was when he does the attack where he starts in the air, does a diagonal dash down in this move, you can smack him and then dash through him. You have enough time, especially if you use the back away when he teleports strategy, because he always goes for where you were, not where you're going. So you'll have enough space to turn around, smack him, and then dash. But only do that if you're really looking to push damage. It's far better to take this fight safe. Sharp Shadow definitely makes this fight a bit easier, because it extends the length of your dash. You may not be always able to get through his fire trail if you Sharp Shadow through him when he does this attack here. But I find usually that even without Sharp Shadow I can get through it. But if you're worried about that, you can jump and then dash. The other move that probably gives me the most trouble in this fight is his, where he starts on the ground and then does an uppercut into the air and launches fire. That move's a pain to deal with, and I don't really have the best advice. Primarily what I find is save your Shadow Dash if you can, and you can evade the initial dash by jumping. Alright, Jeff of the present for a brief moment. This is the moment of truth. Pure Vessel and Absolute Radiance, one after the other. I was able to do this in practice this morning. There's no guarantee I do it here. I would very much like to do it here, but here we go. Wish me luck, Kiwi. Jeff of the Future taking over again. The biggest thing for Nightmare King Grim before we move to Pure Vessel is his 2 opportunities to attack him are really just when he does his his bats. Do a short hop and then hold for a second and then dash, and you'll evade the second bat. And then also when he's hovering in the air using his fire pillars. As for the Pure Vessel, the best way I find to deal with this is 1, Soul Dive every time he does his downward attack, then you don't have to even worry about dodging it. Soul Dive is also a good answer for Nightmare King Grimm's fire attack from the uppercut move that I was mentioning that I have trouble dealing with. I just never choose to do that for some reason. But for Pure Vessel, I find that either dashing through his attacks or just staying in the air above his hit and pogoing is very effective because he doesn't have a lot of good moves to hit above you except for his triple slash. The second swing on his triple slash does hit a bit upwards, but that's really his only way of hitting you. As far as what I like to do for him otherwise, though, whenever he teleports, I try to back off, similar to Nightmare King Grimm, because it gives me more time to react. When you stagger him, only get one heal in, you will very likely be punished if you go for 2. You can, when he does his big circle around him, that spawns smaller circles, if you stand just on the outskirt of that circle, this move, it's not 100%, as you can see right there, it would have hit me, but I find that the smaller circle is less likely to spawn in proximity to the larger circle, so you can try to get a heal, and if you are lucky and get good RNG, you can heal twice. Sometimes 3, but I wouldn't push it, you'd get greedy and probably be punished for that. But stay high, dash through pretty much all of his attacks where possible. The timing is something you just need to get practice with, but I've over time gotten more consistent. Pure Vessel is definitely a hard fight. He has a lot of tight timing that you need to practice with, but he's doable. As for the Absolute Radiance, the starting off move, you can get 4 to 6 hits for free. What I like to do is a pogo and then 3 up airs, and then I just start bouncing. And really my goal here is orbs are free damage to me, especially if she spawns directly, or starts spawning them directly above me. Because what I do is I pogo downwards, 2 hits, then I do 2 falling up airs, and then I just keep pogoing. And you have to do some micro movements with left and rights, but as long as she doesn't spawn the orb directly beneath you, I find that that is a very good opportunity to get a lot of damage in, and one of her most annoying gimmicks to deal with gets trivialized and is an amazing opportunity for damage. Beyond that, this is a fight of attrition. You need to take it slow and methodical and focus on dodging. The only times you should heal are if she uses her clockwise, or her radial spike attack where she shoots a bunch of spikes around her, or her beams. And if you get a lucky spawn like this one, which she is giving me amazing pattern RNG, you can see again I'm using the orbs for damage, but if she starts on the top pillar, just wail on her. I find that if she goes underneath, so on the lower half of this map, I just go away. I try to keep my distance and focus on dodging, because I have a much harder time dodging her when she's beneath me. And yes, there are platforms down there, but then I have to worry about platforming back up when she's moving. So I basically cordon about a half to a third of the map to me. We can do this. We're so close. Okay, I'm back real time. I'm so close. I can do this. Just have to play the ascent well. Okay, whoop. I can do this. I can do this. Alright, I think this is it. All I have to do is no damage, or do what I've done every other time I've been here. Let's take no damage. Abuse the orbs that can't go above the, that if they go off screen despawn. We did it. Oh, my heart's racing. Oh. Okay, I forgot about this. We've only been doing this in the solo boss challenge, but now we get the real beat, the real finish. Oh, okay. That Phase 1 was so unbelievably clean. Phase 2 was almost amazing. But all in all, that was a really clean Absolute Radiance fight. Oh, new ending. Or cutscene or something. Let's see what happens. Uh-oh. Godseeker's gonna get eaten by the void, isn't he? Oh, the poor guy. Well, I don't fully understand what his deal is, but ooh. Ooh, that's concerning. That looks like a bad time. I bet you like that, Kiwi. All the tentacles and such. And it looks like the infection is finally dying off. And there's the actual Hollow Knight. Alright. Embrace the void. Ascend the Pantheon of Hallownest and take your place at its peak. Credits roll. Oh my goodness, we did it. What say we one last battle cry for the victory? I'm a little lightheaded. Well, I think that's it for Hollow Knight. I know there are 2 more endings, but for me, the finale of this game was always getting my victory against the Pantheon of Hallownest. And now that I've accomplished that, well, I think kind of in a similar vein to Cassette Beasts, anything further at this moment will just kind of be me grinding things out and losing. I don't think it'll be as fun as everything that I've done so far, and it may be, but I don't know, it feels like grinding out Radiant bosses and doing the Pantheon of Hallownest again one more time just to get that last ending. That latter one I may end up doing, but I think I need to take a break first, but there we go. I beat Absolute Radiance a whole bunch of times to get here, but to actually beat her in the moment after, 50-minute gauntlet ahead of her? Oh boy. That was a lot. But I hope when you do end up watching this episode, Kiwi, if you ever do end up taking on the 5th Pantheon, and I don't know if I suggest you do, it is such an undertaking. But if you do, I hope the real-time kind of advice bits that I give through my video will be helpful to you. I know my playstyle is vastly different from yours. I sincerely doubt you'll choose to do the aggressive pogo tactics that I used, especially against the Absolute Radiance, but my goodness, did that strategy I figured out work? You just... well, you saw, I don't need to rehash old hat. All I want to say is, between this and Cassette Beasts, honestly, I have found 2 of my all-time favorite games in the span of a month. And beating them definitely took longer than the span of a month. But I am so glad that I've had these 2 experiences, and I can absolutely see why everyone loves Hollow Knight. Congratulations, well done on achieving this great feat. You persevered and you triumphed. We hope you enjoyed yourself in the world of Hollow Knight. We'll meet again soon on the road ahead. On the road ahead. On the road ahead. They say, but Silksong, for the people who were expecting Silksong a lot sooner than what we're getting, which is still not a nebulous and not a clear set date, well, I can only say I am glad that I didn't have the experience of waiting half a decade to see a game that I desperately am now very much looking forward to. But you know, with all that said, Kiwi, we've done it. We beat Hollow Knight. Pure completion. Achieve 112% game completion and finish the game. And it only took 51, almost 52 hours. Fun fact, I think Godhome started at about 30 hours, so I've been here a while. Almost half the time I've been playing this game. But with all that said, Kiwi, we've done it. I hope you enjoyed watching, and if you're awake, I hope it's helping you fall asleep. If you're asleep, I hope you're sleeping well. I love you, Kiwi. Thank you for showing me this game. I'm so glad I got to share it with you. And I'll see you in the next one.